Hey everyone, it's Karima Rainmaker Stewart. We're back again with another conversation for the Money Joy Masterclass. And today we have Dr. Davina S. Kotulski, who is going to be talking to us about living in an all needs met universe. Doesn't that just have a lovely ring to it? That's the universe I want to live in, right? And I do. And I'm so grateful to you, Dr. Davina, for being here today. So welcome.
Thank you, Karima. It's my pleasure to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let me just tell you a little bit about Dr. Davina. She's a licensed clinical psychologist, life coach, spiritual counselor, best-selling and award-winning author and speaker, and nationally known LGBT rights leader. She is passionate about helping people overcome obstacles to make their dreams come true. She has an international life coaching practice, leads webinars and workshops on following your courageous heart, spiritual growth, and authentic self-expression. So with all of that, she has a wealth of knowledge to share with each of us. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
I'm so excited to be here with you today. Thank you for inviting me. I love this topic, and it's such a pleasure to be able to do this with you today. So thanks for having me.
Likewise, and one of the reasons why I reached out to you was because I was just so just taken aback by your stance in the world and how you are being a courageous heart and also helping others live from their heart center. And so you're really helping people live from a soul-inspired life and to really take advantage of their abundance right now. And so if you don't mind, I'd just like to dive right in and get this conversation going.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So living in an all needs met universe. So what is the universe for those who may be unfamiliar with that term?
Great question. So, Albert Einstein once said that the biggest or most important decision that we'll ever make is whether or not you believe you live in a friendly universe or not. And Einstein might have identified himself as an atheist, but he understood that there was some sort of intelligence in the universe, and that when we can connect with that intelligence and we can view it in a positive way, it absolutely shifts. So in a physics term, it actually shifts our relationship with the universe. Now, everybody's different. To me, the universe is, both an intelligent energy, but I also choose to call it spirit, sometimes God, creator, whatever it is. And so it's whatever language works for you, right? But the notion is that there is this loving presence, this intelligent presence that is responding to us and responding to our needs. And when we can look at it, like Einstein said, from this place of we live in a friendly universe, then we connect with this notion and the energy of life conspiring for us instead of against us.
I love it. It's like working on our behalf to bring us our good, right?
That's right.
And it also, and with that, it kind of like, can you say a little bit more about like receiving that? Like if something is conspiring on our behalf, it's only going to do so much unless we are open to that. So can you kind of give us a little more insight into that as well?
Yeah, so basically, we all have our heart's desires, and if our heart's desires are things that uplift ourselves and others, then there's definitely we're those ideas were put there for us to realize what's important to us, and that the universe works with us to bring those things into manifestation. And so if you're wanting to create something, if you're wanting to let's say you're wanting to write something, or you're wanting to create a business, something that helps others, then you're putting that energy out into the universe, and the universe is going to work with you to help bring that into fruition. And now some people, there's a notion of the law of attraction, right? That we say what we want and then we move towards it, we manifest it. That's one thing, but there's also this, what I think really actually happens is that there's also the law of what is best for us and for the universe. So it's not just what's our idea. Like law of attraction is, well, I want this, 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 and this.
Okay.
But the universe is like, okay, well, I know what you want, and I also know how to bring it to you in a way that actually helps you evolve and helps your soul unfold in a way and your life unfold in a way that's best for you and for everyone. So it's not just what you want, but the universe also brings you what you need to grow, right?
Right. And so is that what you mean by an all needs met universe?
Yeah, that's part of what I mean by an all needs met universe. Because you might be like, okay, I want this Mercedes Benz, and I want, this kind of house and this kind of relationship, and that's fine to put that out there. But the universe is also going to bring you what is the best mode of transportation for you. Where is the best house located in a place that's going to bring out your gifts. Maybe you want to live in a certain place, but the universe actually knows that for what your bigger heart's desires or your soul vision or your soul's mission is, it's going to put you in a different location. Like I lived in the Bay Area, and then, the universe invited me and changed some things in my life and brought me to Los Angeles because that's where I needed to be to grow. I never wanted to live in Los Angeles on any conscious level, but when it was time, that's where I was drawn to, right? And the universe brought me there. And so I'm sure you could look into your own life and see, okay, well, I wanted this, the universe brought me that. And it was actually bigger and better for you.
It was unimaginable. It was brought to me in a way that I didn't even think was a possibility. Like I believed and I had, what I call faith, but it showed up in a completely ostensibly impossible way, and it was actually better than what I had imagined.
Yeah, see, so that's part of the all needs met universe is that you might not get what you want, which might create some grief and it might create some frustration, right? But if you hang in there and you keep watching what unfolds, like you said, the universe shows up and it meets your needs in ways that are better than you can even imagine for yourself. The thing is that sometimes we get used to a new normal, right? And then we take it for granted, right? Like we start to live our dreams, and they're like, okay, well, we want more, and that's great to want more, to keep wanting life force to flow through you. But also you want to have gratitude for that you're already living your dreams in ways that you never thought possible.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I like how you said we always want more, but it's really not about like all the material things, but it's just allowing, spiritual energy, life force to flow. I love the way you put that. I've never heard it put in such an empowering way, right? Because it's like, we want more, but there's always another level, but it's really about you're here serving a higher purpose, and allowing that life force to move through us is actually going to be beneficial. So I really like that, how you put that. And what I'm also hearing is that it requires a lot of trust. I mean, for you to say that you were living in the Bay Area and then you're now in Los Angeles, but it's nothing that it wasn't like your heart's desire was like, oh, I just want to live in LA with all the traffic and smog. I mean, right? So tell us more about it. That kind of feels like a vulnerable place, and I've been there, and I live my life from that place. But what advice do you have for those of us who, may not be able to give up control, or we're having a little trepidation around trusting this source, this creator?
Yeah. So, okay. So part of it is, and sorry, when I think I look up, I'm not rolling
Me
my eyes.
too. I do that too.
That's where my eyes go. I noticed it on
the
camera.
answer's up there somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. Tapping into the crown chakra up here, the energy. Yeah. So part of it is we need to clear space to listen to our own inner wisdom, our own inner compass. And so we have, so there's a couple things going on. There's our heart's desires, right? Which is what we want, what we feel called to, almost our calling, right? Our heart's calling, the things that bring us joy. Like, I get, it's obvious you love what you do. I love what I do. And so that's part of my heart's calling, my heart's desires, is to do this kind of work. And it's been like that since, I was a young person. And I'm still young, but when I was a younger person, there we go.
There you go.
Yeah. So then there's also clearing the space to be able to listen to the wisdom. Now, I might call it divine wisdom. Somebody else might call it their inner compass or the signs from the universe. And what we need to do is we need to get quiet. We need to meditate. We need to be still, and then listen to where we're being moved to. So again, like on a conscious level, I never had a desire to move to Los Angeles. Only something brought me here. And then I ended up finding a place that had more nature and a more relaxed lifestyle than I even had in the Bay Area. And so actually more was given to me, right? I had to, I released the home that I owned in the Bay Area, but then ended up in a beautiful home in a better neighborhood that I'm with the same amount that I was paying for a mortgage on my rent. So it's just like the universe put the pieces into place, and we're supported. Okay. So that's just part of my story. But I know that if you look within your own story, you're going to find ways in which you're supported and things showed up, especially when we can let go of some of the attachments of how we think things should be. Now, that doesn't mean putting yourself in danger. That doesn't mean like settling. It's not about settling for less, but it's about listening to, where can I open my heart more? Where can I be more flexible? What are opportunities that I'm not seeing? So for example, I had I have a friend who also was a writing client of mine, and this client was got an eviction notice that it was time to move out of their place, and had to, it was like this was a place they brought their kids home to. Okay. When they were born, they'd lived there forever. They rented forever. So that is one of the things about renting. But they did the law of attraction. This is the kind of place we want. We're going to manifest this. And then it didn't come. It did not come. And they were being kicked out. Their lease was expired. They weren't not renewing it. But a friend said, hey, I've got an apartment available for the summer that's fully furnished, and we're going to be gone. So if you want to put your stuff in storage, you guys can move in. We've got a pool. It's close to the ocean, and it's great. Right. So they did that. They didn't freak out. They're like, oh, okay, let's do it. Let's put our stuff in storage. Let's move in, take advantage of this. And then they continued to look. And by the end of summer, they found the perfect place and moved all their stuff in. And, it worked out. So, but they were willing to the interim step. Right.
Right. Right. And it's amazing how if they had found something sooner, it may not have, and forced it, right? Not trusting or rushed it, right? But by allowing and giving space for, source, spirit, God, whatever, to work on their behalf, they actually ended up in a place that was better, So that's
right, exactly
great.
And so what happens sometimes, though, is that, like you said, if people force it or they rush it and they settle for something that in their gut, right, in their own intuition, they're like, oh, this isn't right, but I've got to do it because, I might not have anything, right? So I better just rush it. That's different than what's available and what feels right. Right. And so it's very subtle, and this is like what you said, you've got to have faith, you've got to have trust, but you also need to listen deeply to where you're being drawn. And that's not everybody else. Don't listen to what other people are saying to you unless it feels right. You have to listen to your own inner wisdom.
Right. Like I was talking to a friend last night and she was telling me about something. She's like, you really should do this. And I said, well, I've looked at that. A couple months ago, I don't think that's right for me. And then she kept I said, well, maybe this is, maybe God sent her to kind of have me look again because my circumstances had changed. And so actually, I think I'm actually going to look into the thing that she was recommending that I do, because now I'm in a position where time, space, money has really opened up so that I can take advantage. And so sometimes people are sent to you, and then you just have to check in inwardly to make sure that it's a match, right? Because sometimes people can say things and kind of throw you off your path, right?
Yeah, and like you said, timing is everything. Like
Yes.
sometimes they need to they need to line up, right?
Yep.
And then once they've lined up, then it's a yes. But if it hasn't lined up yet, it's not a yes.
Right. Absolutely. So that you kind of touched on one of the things that I was going to ask you, which is, this courage to surrender to and trusting this force, this energy, and you kind of gave an example of, what it looks like to trust and allow with the example of your client. Is there anything else that you would add? Like, what does that courage to surrender look like? What does it feel like? How do we know that we're actually being it or doing it?
Great question. So part of surrender, what surrender looks like, is that you're accepting what is. And I love the serenity prayer, right? Like, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can change, and then the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
It's checking in, like, okay, what do I have control over, and what are the things that I can do to make a difference, and what do I have to just allow and let be. And when you allow what needs to happen, then you're kind of going with the flow, right? You're stepping back into witness consciousness. You're watching the world instead of just reacting to it, and you're watching, and then you're seeing where you're pulled to, right? Because I'm drawn in this direction, or this doesn't feel right, but you're using your body and, in listening to yourself in a way that you're attuning with life around you. There's a wonderful book called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. It is so good, and he's got a very interesting life. All he did was stay in one place, surrender, and do and say yes to what was in front of him to do, or what he was being called to, and his whole life unfolded in this magnificent way just by him choosing as a young person to live from the surrender experiment. So It's really cool.
Okay, I'll have to check that book out. I haven't heard of it. That's wonderful. Okay, great. So there may be some folks who are in our viewing audience who may be saying, well, if there's so much abundance and we live in an all needs met universe, then why is there the presence of so much lack in the world?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So first of all, I want to say, we can define abundance in many, many ways, right? One is like how much money's in your bank account, or how much, like, we can define it in terms of monopoly, right? How many properties do you own? What are your investments, right? How much rent are you collecting from people? Those kinds of things. I'm going to recommend or suggest that you look at abundance beyond that. Do you have an abundance of fresh air, right? Do you have access to libraries? Are you, what kind of freedom do you have in your life? Like, part of my abundance right now is that being self-employed, I get to pick my hours and things like that. I used to work as a psychologist in a women's prison. Okay. And I did not have I had a lot of financial abundance, but I didn't have a lot of freedom. And I realize now that, now I know how to create both. I know how to create financial abundance, and I know how to create time abundance, and taking time to have a cup of coffee and meeting with friends and reading a book. Like, there's a lot of ways to be abundant that don't have to do with, how many cars you own, or, again, like the square footage of your home, things of that nature. But in terms of looking around the world and seeing lack, so part of it is that, so there's a term that I really love called manna, right? Manna from heaven. And manna comes from the Bible, and it comes from the passages about when the Jews were wandering in the desert after Exodus, after they were no longer slaves in Egypt, and they were wandering in the desert for 40 years. Mm-hmm. And God gave them manna from heaven, and manna was only good for one day, right? And after that, it spoiled, so they couldn't keep it. And what I believe this passage is about is that the divine, the universe, life gives us exactly what we need to survive on a day-to-day basis, and that we need to stay open and available to it. And it might not look like we want it to look, but we're always going to be loved. It may not be with a person that we want to be loved by, like it may not always be romantic love, but we're always loved, right? We're constantly, we can breathe, right? Until we're ready to make our transition, we have air. There are ways to find water. There are ways to have our needs met. And that sometimes, we come closer to living like the Jews in the desert, right? Where it's just we're receiving from God or from the universe on a day-to-day basis. But it's important for us to live like that. And I really believe that at some point, when we live more like that, there'll be more for everyone. And there won't be these extreme class divides, right? There'll be enough for everyone because we're not hoarding, right? We're not hoarding our resources. We're not damming up our rivers. We're not bottling all this water that then other people don't have it to drink, or we don't have the water to go back into the environment to then become weather and rain. And do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love how you're really expanding that definition, like just air. That's that's a sign of abundance, and that's, infinite, right? So,
Right. And if I may just jump in with one more thing, there's a story about, or a joke or whatever, I don't know. It's like, what's the difference between heaven and hell? And basically the difference is that so hell is like a giant table with tons of food on it and people sitting around the table, and there's giant forks and knives, and they're chained down. So every time you try to feed yourself, you can't feed yourself. You can't eat, so you're starving. And heaven is a giant table with people sitting around it, an abundance of food, giant forks and knives on the table, chained down, but the people are feeding each other. And so one of the reasons there's so much lack is also because there are places where we could be giving and sharing, and we're holding back, right? We're hoarding. We could show up for others. We can show up for people in our community that are homeless. We can step up and say, hey, you know what, like in LA, every time, they just said this on NPR the other day, every time the rents go up here, 8,000 people become homeless just from a small rent increase. So we could choose to keep our rents down. We could choose to have rent control. There's just things that we could choose as a community to create less lack. We're in charge of that.
So what I hear in that also is like, my ability to lean into abundance actually can create abundance for others. My ability to, not hoard or share resources, or that basically that's allowing others to be abundant, and I'm creating a ripple effect with that. Right. And likewise for others, for me. And it's just this circulation of money, resources, love, food, whatever it is. So yeah, I'm glad you added that piece as well, because we are, responsible. We're responsible, and if we are in a lack consciousness, then we're just feeding the lack consciousness in the world.
Exactly. And I love that you brought up the law of circulation, because the law of circulation is it's not about hoarding. It's about circulating energy and getting it out there. And yes, you can take your abundance and you can use your abundance to give it back to others.
Awesome. Excuse me. I know, I sneezed too. I was like, these allergies. Salud. Yeah, those allergies are wild right now. Gosh, I want to talk to you. I want to keep talking to you, but I'm also being mindful of time. So maybe, so how do we maintain this deep knowing? How do you've given us some ideas on how we can trust and surrender. tap in, circulate? How do we maintain this deep knowing that all of our needs are taken care of by source, by the universe? And then what's one thing that, you know, where we can start? What's one step that will move us in that direction?
Okay, so this is where I talk about the courageous heart, right? Like our heart is drawing us to something. And when we say yes to it and we have the experience of taking these leaps of faith, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, like we've got to decide, okay, I can handle this much risk in terms of a leap of faith. So a little bit, a medium amount, or a big amount. But whenever you take these risks or these leaps, and they're not like it's not about being reckless, but it's about, okay, I'm going to invest in myself, or I'm going to invest in my dream. I'm going to follow my heart. When you do that, you're going to build your heart muscle, right? You're going to realize, oh gosh, I can do this. And look, the universe shows up for me. There might be a little bit of a lag in between, but it does. And so when you step out in faith, the universe rises up to meet you, and you will have those experiences. But you've got to find out, okay, I can handle this much and not freak out. Or, like you want to freak out just a little bit, but you don't want to overwhelm yourself. So you're like, I'm never doing that again. But just enough, right? So that you're moving forward and you're letting the universe show up for you. And that's building your heart muscle. And what it's showing you too is that your dreams matter, and that anytime you invest in your dreams and you're up leveling yourself, you're going to bring other people with you, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it. Your dreams matter.
And so, yeah. So one of the ways that I love to support people in being able to connect with their courageous heart is that on my website, followyourcourageousheart.com, I have a 3 MP3. It's called 7 Steps to Follow Your Courageous Heart and start living your dreams. And you can go to my website, followyourcourageousheart.com, and you can download, put your information in and download the class information. And then you can start connecting with your heart now and looking at what are the things that you need to do to start moving in the direction of your dreams. And then later on, I also do a what's called the Be Your Own Hero webinar. And if you stay in touch with me, you'll learn more about that as well.
Be your own hero. I love that. I'll have to follow you on that one. So I love it. I love it. I just love the work that you're doing. Absolutely just brilliant. I can talk to you all day.
I love this. I love your energy. I love what you're about. And again, I can see your passion. You're following your heart. You're living your dreams, and it shows. And it's great.
Yeah, it really, really is. So we're gonna wrap it up. Any final tips or anything you're just burning to share with our viewing audience before we wrap up?
I just like to always invite people to be true to yourself and realize that those authentic things that are about you. This is what the world needs. And I love there's a Howard Thurman quote. I'll probably not say it right, but the world needs people to come alive. And so please come alive. Share your authentic gifts. Be you.
Come alive. I love it. It's fun.
Right.
Right. Oh, well, thank you everyone for tuning in today. I know that you've got several nuggets, gold nuggets that you were walking away with. And so Dr. Davina has given you some tools and opportunities for you to connect to your heart, to come alive in your life, take it to the next level. And so now it's time to apply them, right? So that you can see magic happen in your life and allow all your needs and your heart's desires to be met by an all needs met universe. This is Karima Rainmaker Stewart. We're signing off, and we'll look forward to having you join us for our next conversation in the Money Joy Masterclass. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. For the free gift that Dr. Davina has so graciously given us, you're going to click the link on this page, and that will give you access to the free gift and to her website, and that's where you can connect more intimately with her and her work. So take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.